All right, y'all. We got David Cordova in the house. He is a friend of mine, a colleague of mine here at Silver State Schools Credit Union. Before we jump into this interview, I got 3 questions. I want to know what you say first. Doesn't have to be the best answer, but it's your real answer, and I want to see what you got to say. Cool?
Sounds good.
All right, so your first car.
My first car was a Pontiac Grand Am.
Okay.
It was a gray car. My dad purchased it for me. I think I was around 15, 16 years old.
Nice.
And he probably only spent a few $100s on this car. There were some things on it that didn't work. But yeah, that was my first car, and it got me to school and I worked at Blockbuster Video. And it used to get me to Blockbuster Video. So, yeah, that was my first car.
Shout out to Blockbuster for all of us
Yeah,
millennials and
Blockbuster.
older. All right, so that was, what about your favorite car you've driven so far?
Favorite car? You know what? My wife, she just purchased a Kia Telluride. And so
Nice.
it's I'm all about the family and making sure my family, they're first and making sure they're comfortable. And actually my 9-year-old, hey Lincoln, he's the one who kind of pushed my wife. There's that emotional decision again, but yeah, he's the one who kind of pushed my wife into buying that vehicle. So
Okay.
yeah, but it's a very, very nice car.
All right, cool. Last question, your dream car.
My dream car. Okay, so for selfish reasons, I would probably go. I was always a Charger, Dodge Charger, Dodge Challenger,
Okay.
and the Challenger is only 2 seats. It has a back seat, but I mean only 2 doors, so it's a coupe. So I really want like a Dodge Challenger. So I think that would be just a cool car to have. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all we have. Thank you for answering those rapid fire questions. Now let's get into it. What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Financial Seeds Podcast, where we believe that financial freedom is built one conversation at a time. I'm your host, JimDre Westbrook, and every week we are here to empower families to go from striving to thriving by having smart, practical money talks. Today's episode, we're going to get into the car buying process. We understand that for a lot of families, this is a very stressful, a very serious discussion that needs to happen because you're going to spend a lot of time in that vehicle. I have a statistic that I want to get right. It is 25 to 35% of car buyers report that social media significantly influences their decision making. So whatever car that you get, if you're on social media like me, I'm pretty sure you see all the ads and you may be tempted to buy something that may necessarily not be the right fit for you. So today, you don't have to listen to my advice, but we have somebody I feel who's in the house who can help us guide that process so we can select the right car for you. So I'm bringing in some reinforcement, some Silver State Schools Credit Union reinforcement by having Mr. David Cordova here today to help us out again, that we want to make sure that you are making the proper decision for your family. So, David, welcome to the pod today.
Pleased to be here. Excited.
Yes,
Thanks so
sir.
much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about today. And before we kind of jump and guide our people when it comes to the process, just tell us a little bit about what you do here. I know you're known as the car guy, but I know you do more than the car thing. But yeah, just kind of briefly tell us your role and how significant that can be here in our community.
Sure. So been with Silver State for 16 years now.
Amazing.
So I've worked my way, up through different aspects of the company. My current role, I oversee our indirect lending platform. So
Okay.
I'm our business development manager. What that entails is going out to dealerships, talking with them, bringing in business. I am kind of the in-between and the go-between for Silver State in our dealerships and for our dealerships in Silver State. So
Got you.
I work with our members to make sure that loan applications are coming in properly, that we're reviewing everything properly, and through that process with the dealerships, we can actually gain more memberships because we have people who wouldn't know who Silver State Schools Credit Union was or were before, and they're able to send them to us, and we can build relationships that way. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of who I am and what I do.
Oh, that's what's up. So, like I told y'all, way more than just the car guy. Shout out to you for being here for 16 years. That is an accomplishment, man, and we really, really appreciate what you do for us.
Thanks so much.
So let's kind of jump into this first segment. I want to start here. Why is car buying such an emotional decision for people?
I think emotional. I always go back to my first time, my car. You usually can ask somebody, "Hey, what was your first car? What was your first car?"
First car was a Mazda 626.
There
like
you go.
Hunter Green.
See, there you go.
Yeah,
everybody has that emotional tie to their vehicle. Mine was a Pontiac Grand Am. And so I think emotion with vehicles and car buying is part of it, and it should be. Now, where it gets dangerous, I think sometimes is if you let emotion sway your decision when you're trying to buy something.
Yeah.
And so, emotions are good. You should love your car. You should want to drive it. You should be proud of it. You know, you've worked hard. You put money and time. But I think where people should probably be careful when it comes to emotional buying is to not let them be the ultimate decision. Because emotions can kill logic. And logic, it's about making the right decision. And it's about, not making that spur of the moment, hey, I love this car. I don't care how much it costs. I'm just going to go after that. So emotional decisions, it's a good thing, and it should be. And you should be emotional about your car. You should love your car. But at the same time, you don't want to let that sway your financial decision. So if you're going to buy a car that doesn't fit you, is too expensive, then that's when emotions can be, a little deceptive for you. So
yes, no, I love it. I love that you said it's okay to be yourself. We're emotional folks, like we're human beings, so we're going to feel some type of way about that car. But what are some red flags when someone is maybe too emotional, right? They like this car, they see themselves in it, but what are just some red flags for the person who may be unaware that they're being a little too emotional about this decision?
I think if it comes up, so when you're dealing with a dealership, and we love our dealerships. I mean, we all get our cars from dealerships, and they're professional salesmen.
Yes.
And so if it becomes, and dealerships will ride however the situation or the conversation goes with you. So a red flag that could pop up would be, if a dealership knows you like a certain vehicle, but they have a trim level that is higher. So, and that could put 10, 15, sometimes 20,000 more on vehicles. And if that's the case, and you've gone in with a budget, and hopefully everybody's budgeting.
Right.
But if you've gone in with a budget, and let's say your budget is 30,000, and a dealer says they see you looking at the sunroof or the heated seats or the cooled seats or whatever option is on there, and they can see that you really like those options, and it's going to cost you 15,000 more than what you originally went in. That's when the red flags start coming in, because you start losing that logic, that budget that you went in, you're not going to spend anything, and you start getting swayed by the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
It's so that's, I would avoid that piece of it at all costs, because if you start letting your emotions come in with, hey, I just want, my friends are really going to like that sunroof, or, I can show off this car to whoever, the people at work or people at school, that's when a big problem comes in, and that's when red flags are going to pop up all over.
I love it. When you say that, one of the things that comes to me is, a car is one of the easiest ways to look like you're doing well, even if you're not there financially, right? to that point where you just talked about, trying to look cool for your friends. Like, we've all been there, right? All right, this has been the thing where it's like, that first car that I had, man, I couldn't wait to get to high school. I was like one of the first people in my grade with a car. So it was like, man, I can't wait to, my boys and, whatever, little girlfriend I might have had at the time. You feel that, that this is going to be part of like my personality, my identity, but you may not be there financially. So we truly want everyone listening or watching that, a car is important, but it's not your full identity, especially financially. We want you to make those logical, practical decisions that David is talking about. We don't want, again, you to be too emotional, because if so, that's going to lead you the wrong way, right? We don't want you to be led by that. We want you to make smart decisions, which brings me to my next question that I have for you, David. What should people consider before they even step onto a dealership lot?
That's a loaded question, but it's a great question. I think there's a lot to consider. I brought up budgeting. I'm a big advocate for budgeting.
Yep.
I have 3 kids. One who just started high school, and so he's in the process of getting a car. And so he's brought it up to me that he wants to, get a Mustang. And that's his dream car. And of course, I'm like, the first thing that comes to me, I'm like, man, I don't want you to wreck, a
Seriously?
car there, that's the first thing that pops into my brain. And so we've had this conversation before, and he was like, that's my car, that's what I want. And so then I kind of started going into budgeting for him. I started off with my kids. I always would reward hard work. And so I rewarded good grades for them. So and it started after kindergarten, because kindergarten doesn't count. But I mean, you can make it in kindergarten. But I started in grade school. And if their grades were on the honor roll, then I would reward them with paying them for that hard work that they did.
Sure.
And I understand as they get older and as they get into mid school and high school that's harder. But that was the reward I was giving them for that hard work.
Yep.
My dad, growing up, always instilled hard work into us and my family. And, he was a faithful person, and he would always tell me, the parable, you can move a mountain with the faith of a mustard seed.
Yep.
And he would stop and say, now what if, with that faith of a mustard seed, you were handed a shovel and asked to move that mountain? And I'm like, well, that would suck, like I wouldn't want to do that. But he's like, but you can with hard work.
Sure.
And, with perseverance and moving forward. And so that's hard work is kind of what I've always instilled. And if you work for something and you want it, then you can achieve it. Now, budgeting back to that is going to be a big piece of that, because you don't want to spend something more than what you can afford.
Of course not.
I mean, a budget is going to be the most important thing. I mean, that's why I brought it up at initial. Everyone should put a budget. Everyone should look at what they can afford prior to even jumping into the car market. Credit. Credit's going to be another big piece of this.
Yep.
Everyone should know how to read a credit report, what credit means, and what it's going to do for you. Credit can make or break you.
Oh, yeah.
If you are good with your credit, you pay your stuff on time, you don't go over your balances, you're doing everything right, that credit can save you thousands. On the opposite side, if you're not responsible with your credit, if you don't pay your credit cards on time, if you're not making, those payments that are going to affect your credit report, that can negatively affect you and put you in the hole thousands of dollars. And so those are things when you're going into budgeting and when you're going into planning to buy a vehicle, that should all be top of mind. That should be things that you already have scheduled in your day-to-day. And a car buy, I mean, it's the second biggest purchase that anybody's going to do, pretty much anybody. I mean, there's other circumstances, but most of us, the second biggest purchase we're going to do is a car. And if we take that seriously and we truly budget that for that down, then we're going to be, further ahead because of it. I said that, car people are professional salespeople. I think that on the opposite side, people should be professional buyers as well.
Sure.
And by doing that is getting educated. There was a survey done. They surveyed 10,000 millionaires, and they asked them in this survey, how many of you, have a car payment? And overwhelmingly, all of them said no. Most of them said that their car was 4 years old and that it was paid off. And this is millionaires.
Yeah.
You would think, oh yeah, they're gonna, go finance something, and they can because I'm sure that their credit, but these are professional financial people who they know how to manage their money.
Oh, yeah.
They know how to manage their finances.
Yep.
And so I was kind of shocked when I read that survey. I'm like, so they don't even have car payments. Their car is about 4 years old. As I'm researching some of this stuff, Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett, we all know who Warren Buffett is. He's a billionaire. He obviously knows how to manage his money. He has, he has tons of companies. And he has famously said that his vehicle is 12 years old. And he doesn't believe in purchasing a vehicle for clout, for, just to get recognized, just because it's the newest and greatest thing. He said practicality is the most important thing whenever he is looking for. So if it can get you to work, if it can get you to school, if it can fulfill the needs of your family, if you have kids, if it can get them to school and daycare. So I think those things are the most important thing, and kind of how we're trying to budget and making sure that that's top of mind for us.
Awesome. So as David said, loaded question, but a brilliant answer, where a lot of those things that we've already discussed in season 1 and season 2, you'll see come up in every episode. We cover budgeting a lot. We've covered credit. We want you to be financially literate so you can make, as David said, the second most important decision that may happen with you financially, because you're going to spend a lot of time in this car. So we want you to not be car poor, so to speak. We really want you to choose the car that is right for you and your family, that will take those budgeting principles, that will take you to understand a lot about credit. And that's why you should continue to watch or listen to shows such as this, because we really want to give you the game. I did not have this. My co-host Bree talks about how we didn't grow up in a household that talked about financial literacy, that talked about financial wellness. So we're just loving all of this stuff that you are giving to us. And it made me think of another thing before we transition to the next segment, is that essentially you don't want to fall in love with the car, but you want to fall in love with your decision for said car. So the practicality, all those points that you talked about, that Warren Buffett said, hey, does it run well? Can it get you to point A, point B? I think we get lost in the sauce when it comes to, how good does the car look? Who can I perform for? Or, just do the most. Like, none of that stuff matters. Yes, you want to look cool. I get that. But yeah, can it get me to point A, point B? That practicality piece. I just think that that's so powerful, and I'm glad that you brought that up for us. At Silver State Schools Credit Union, we know that expanding your business should be about opportunity, not upfront expenses. That's why, for a limited time, we're offering $0 closing costs on commercial loans. Whether you're acquiring property, expanding your footprint, or investing in new equipment, you can save up to $25,000 and keep your capital working where it matters most. Explore your options at silverstatecu.com/no-fee. So David, let's now talk about where I think a lot of people get tripped up, and it's the money, man, right? It's the financing of trying to buy a car. So what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when financing a car?
I think it is going after, when everybody wants to go after that car, they're listening to the commercials that are coming through.
Sure.
It's that feeling, again, we talked about that emotion. I think it's riding on their feelings rather than that practicality. People will look at flash. How many commercials are out there about, hey, this car has the best features, it has the best, functions the best. But how many commercials are out there about, hey, can you afford this vehicle? Can you know that if you take a loan out for 5 years, that's 5 years of payments that's going to have to sit on you, and and situations can change.
Sure.
Jobs can change. You could have a family. You could get married. You could have kids. There's a lot of different things that could change.
Yep.
The average in 2026, the average new car sales price is $48,000. That's the average, $48,000. The average payment, this is the monthly payment, is over $700 a month. So if we're thinking about that in financial literacy terms, I mean, does that make sense? I go back to the millionaires. I go back to Warren Buffett. There's a reason why their cars are paid off, and because they don't want to pay interest onto a company that's going to make profits for that. So those are all things. Of course, most of us are all going to have to take out a loan for a vehicle. But we have to make sure that when we take those loans out, that it's going to be interest savvy. So back to credit, that our interest rates are going to be low, and that we have done the research. When you buy a car now, that's $48,000 brand new, $700 payment. I don't think most people probably think about the insurance that they're going to have to put on the car.
Oh, yeah.
So there's insurance payment. Then there's gas. We all know what goes on with gas today, and it's ebbs and flows. I mean, sometimes gas is, pretty affordable, but as the economy changes, gas will go up. There's maintenance, there's tires, there's brakes, car washes. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go into play when you buy a vehicle that nobody really thinks of. And a car dealership, of course, is not going to tell you this stuff. So that stuff, that's all going to come into play. And I think, being savvy about that stuff, again, education. There's so many free tools today. There's Edmunds, there's KBB, Silver State Schools. We have on our website, so much information about car buying. I think that today that young people especially, they're so much more advanced. They have so many more tools that I didn't have growing up as a kid. That will put them ahead of the curve. I'm excited for the way that this financial literacy podcast has gone, and I'm excited that you have brought this into the light. I don't think there's enough podcasts out there like this right now, and this information is gold. I mean, all this information that anybody can take up, use it, jot it down. JimDre and I work here at this credit union, and if you go on the website and you make the call there, you would be able to get this information, and we can talk to you about this stuff too. So, it's just great information. But I would definitely say knowledge is power, and apart from that, knowledge is power. Power is change, and change is good. And so if we continue to grab that knowledge and make that change, everything's going to be good. It's all for the better. We didn't have this information when I was growing up, and so this is just going to help people move forward.
Oh man, that's a word. I hope you all are taking notes. That was a bar. That was really a good line, and it really makes me think, that a car, should move your life forward, right? But not set you back financially. Like, we're trying to do things that maybe learn from some of the mistakes of our parents or our past generations, where it was all about the bling, if you was all about looking good, and because of if you bought I remember Escalades back in the day were a thing. Like, no one needed an Escalade. I'm not hating on Cadillacs, because my dad rode Cadillacs for decades. That he was a Seville guy, then STS and all of that stuff. So to see, when back in the day with rims and all that other type of stuff, like you talked about gas, all that, like you have to really think about all this stuff when you are purchasing a car. And again, I hope that you are taking notes, especially for, people like your son, like you want a car. This is the podcast you really need to be listening to, because there's so many things outside of just driving responsible and being a defensive driver. Like, there are so many other things that you have to talk about, think about. I hope you're taking notes. And man, that last line, I really appreciate that. Real quick, if you're listening to this and thinking, students need to hear this, we got you. At Silver State Schools Credit Union, we offer free K-12 financial literacy workshops and hands-on experiences that help students understand money in real life. Tap in with us online or inside the branch and bring it to your school. All right, let's get back into the episode. All right, David, we are going to close with what we call our seeds of wisdom. So if someone is about to buy a car, and I know that you've given us all kinds of gems, but maybe there's something that you haven't said yet that you're waiting for this moment. What's one piece of advice you would give them right now?
Someone buying a car, I would say do your research, of course. Mark Twain, there's a quote that he said, travel is fatal to prejudice, which really kind of sat with me when I've heard this quote, and you can relate it to vehicle buying. There's going to be a lot of people that tell you this car isn't good. You brought up the Escalade example. It's the best car, and that creates a prejudice that makes you think either it's good or it's bad, but I think getting out there and actually purchasing a vehicle, talking to dealerships, you don't have to say yes at the first dealership and you don't have to say yes at the first car. You can do your research and you can try to figure out what's best and what's going to work. Explore, drive different cars. When you go to a dealership, they let you drive the car.
Yeah.
I mean, you give your license and you can be like, that was fun, thanks for the gas, and I'm just going to go look at another vehicle. You don't have to say yes.
Oh, yeah.
Negotiation is key with dealerships. Most dealerships will let you negotiate with them. They price a vehicle. Of course, they're a business, and they are going to try to make money. It's your job to understand how much that vehicle is worth and how much you want to pay for it. And that comes with research, and it comes with getting that knowledge. You can go to a bunch of different dealerships. You can shop and you can get that knowledge on your own, so that you're not stuck listening to your friend saying, hey, that car's a piece of trash, or your other friend saying, oh, that car's amazing, you should go buy it. Go and find out for yourself. Don't let another person influence anything negative or positive that you do in your life. I would say that is a life decision that you should make on your own. And that comes with, finding out for yourself. Take away all that prejudice. Find out for yourself what something is. And I think in life, that's an amazing quote from Mark Twain. But I think, you can apply it to many things and just trying to find out what works for you and what's best. So that would be my little nugget of inspiration. I always tell my kids, my boys, and I have a daughter too. She's 5. She's my angel and my princess and everything. And but she's just learning right now. But my older boys, so they've been in karate and jiu-jitsu for the last 4 years. And one thing that always sat with me is because they have to go compete, and they have to go to tournaments. And when they first started out, they would get their butts kicked and they failed. And as they advanced, especially in the karate side, now they have come into sparring. And so they get punched in the face and they get kicked and they fail. And I think this whole process, this whole financial literacy process is about failure, but it's also about, overcoming that and finding out what's best. We've all failed. I failed. When I first started out, I probably wasn't the most financial savvy person, and I probably didn't spend my money the way I was supposed to. I know I didn't. But as I've gotten older, those are things that I've taken with me and, gain knowledge. People think that as you get older, you automatically get wisdom. But I like to say that growth is the most important thing, because if you can grow, that means you've taken what you're learning and you've applied it. And so that is, failure is going to come. Nobody's perfect in this financial journey that we're all on. But if you can take from what you've done and learn and use all of this information that we've given, I'm grateful for Scott for putting this, this podcast studio together. It's amazing. I'm grateful for you for continuing to push the podcast and your staff. It's been amazing. And as I've gone back on the interviews, you guys should really check out all of the guests that have been on. I mean, you have the CEO of this company, Mr. Scott Arkills. You have Mercedes. You have celebrities on. And I've gotten some insight. You had Omar on, and he was amazing. Yep. So there's so much information that we can all learn, and it's free. And it is free, and anybody can, get this information and move forward. And I know I went off a tangent, but all of this is important. And I think financial literacy is really, you've stated many times, it's something that I think was a little taboo and something that really wasn't brought up as we were getting older. And I think right now, for the young generation, and you parents raising the young generation, my wife likes to go on what she calls spiritual treasure hunts. I think everybody should go on a financial treasure hunt. And that means keeping as much wealth for yourself and not giving it out to everybody else that's trying to take it. I think if we can do that, build that wealth, make your generations better because of it, make yourselves better because of it, get your credit up, everybody's going to benefit for it. And I have to plug really quick, we at Silver State, so I deal with a lot of dealerships, and as we're car buying, we have partnerships with dealerships too, all on our website. So if you go on there, we do partner with, we have the Finley Group on there, we have Jim Marsh, we have the Tobin Group. And all of these are community-based organizations, just like Silver State Schools is. We're about helping out. And so those dealerships we partner with closely, and they can take care of you on your car buying journey. I vet them, and I have relationships with them, and they're the ones that, take pride in the Las Vegas community, in community as a whole, and really want to help people in that car buying process as well.
Awesome. No, I love it. You can plug all day. You can drop Mark Twain and spiritual, treasure hunts, financial treasure hunts. That was the seed of wisdom for this week. I don't really have much to say, which is a blessing because that was so rich, man. Like, we can probably go on at least for another 3 hours to really unpack what you just dropped with us. What I will say before we wrap up is, a lot of what I've heard is, you want to make a decision that supports your life, right? We know that there's more to life than this money thing, but it is going to be in almost every aspect of life. So the more, the better that you are, because as David said, we both made mistakes. Like, we could be here another 10 hours if we talk about the financial mistakes that we've made. But again, your life, not just your lifestyle. Lifestyle is cool, but just who you are as an individual person, we really want to get this information out to you. So, you know what? I'm just going to wrap this thing up because, again, we will be here another, I said 3, I said 10, probably another 24 hours if we don't stop. So shout out to you again, David, for being here with us. We really appreciate your wisdom. We really appreciate your guidance and also your heart, man. The fact that you work here shows us the type of person that you are. Again, 16 years, y'all. He just didn't show up. Like, he has showed up and showed out today. So I truly appreciate just who you are for us, the credit union, and in your family. You talked a lot about your family, man, and me being a family guy too. Like, I truly appreciate everything that you're doing here.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Dre.
All right, y'all. That's another episode. We really appreciate you for rocking with us. We want to continue to do this thing. In order for us to have great guests like we had with David, we must have you tune in. So like, share, comment. Please make this your #1 podcast. If you like watching us, we're on YouTube. If you like listening to us, wherever podcasts are listened to, you can follow us on there. Social media, we talked about that. Please follow us on all our social media accounts and share this episode with everyone you know who is driving. Maybe they have a car, maybe they want a new car. We gave you a lot of advice and free game to help you and your family out. So until next time, my name is JimDre, and please keep planting those seeds. Peace.
The Financial Seeds podcast is powered by Silver State Schools Credit Union, hosted by JimDre Westbrook, co-hosted by Brianna Chavez, produced by Jackie Martin, and recorded in the Scott A. Arkhills production studio. The Financial Seeds podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as financial, legal, or tax advice. All opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Silver State Schools Credit Union. Listeners should consult with a qualified financial professional for advice specific to their individual situation.